Hi guys, in today's video we'll create this login screen using HTML and Tailwind CSS. I'll be using this image by Tyler Nix for our login form. So let's get started by opening our code editor. I'll be using Visual Studio Code. I've already created a main folder, and inside that, I'll create a new folder for our project. Let's name it Login Screen. Then we need to create a new index.html file. Now let's set up our index file and rename our title. To start using Tailwind CSS, let's head to tailwindcss.com. Click on Get Started. Then click on Place CDN. Copy the script tag and add it to the head of our HTML file. Let's create an h1 tag for testing. And open our file with Live Server. Perfect! It's working! To make our lives easier, we're going to use Tailwind CSS IntelliSense extension, and I have that already installed, but notice that I'm not getting any suggestion. To fix that, create a new file and name it tailwind.config.js. Leave that file empty and let's try again. Now we are ready to start. Let's create a section tag. Then give it a nice light gray background color. And let's set the minimum height to screen height. To center our content horizontally and vertically, let's add the flex class, item center, and justify center. Now we'll create the login container, which will hold both the form and the image. Inside the div, we need to add a background color as shown in the design. For now, I'll add a cyan 100 background color. Notice we have two main sections in our container, the left section that holds the login form and the right section for the image. So let's create a div tag for the left section right here. And here is another one for the image. Add an image tag. Download the image you want to use and then drag and drop it in the projects folder. Rename the image file if needed. And now we can put the image file name in our source attribute. Now we need to give our image section a width of 50%. We'll add the same class to the form div. I am creating an h2 tag for testing. Okay, good, but we need to change the display so it'll be horizontally. To do that, add a flex class to the forms div. Okay, it looks good, let's move on. Add a padding of 20 pixels to the image div. Add a border radius to the image, copy the class and add it to the container. Let's change the cyan background color to gray 100. And the section's background to gray 50. Now add a shadow large class to the container's div. Much better. To limit the width of our container, add a max width of 3x large. Looking great, but notice how our test text has no padding. To fix that, we need to remove the padding class from the image div and instead add the padding to the container's div. It's time to create the content of our form section. Change the h2 text to login. Add a class of font bold and text 2x large. Add a p tag for the text. Change the text size to x small. And let's add a margin top 4. Nice. Our next step is creating the form inputs. For that, we'll start with a form tag. Create an input element of type email. I made a mistake here. Add a placeholder. Now let's create an input element of type password. Add a placeholder for that too. And finally, create the login button. Next, add a flex class to the form and flex column. Add px8 class to our form div, not px16. I'll be fixing that later on in this video. Okay, now let's hide the image on smaller devices. For any device that is larger than 640 pixels, the image display will be blocked, else the image will be hidden. Perfect, the image is hidden on small devices, but my mistake was I didn't hide the image container, and that's what is causing the white space on the right side. Also, we need to disable the 50% width class on our form container. Let's do that by adding a media query before the width attribute. Okay, this part is fixed. Let's remove those classes from the image element and add it to the image container. Now let's check it out. Looking great. Next, we need to style our input elements. First, let's add to our form classes a gap4 class. Then, click on both inputs while pressing on the Alt key, add padding 2 and margin top 8 to the first input only. The next step is to add rounded x large and a border class on both input elements. For the button's background, I will select a color from the image using coolors.co website. Click on Start the generator and upload your image. After selecting the color, hit Next, then click on Quick View, and there you are. Copy the color code, and now we can use it inside square brackets. Again, we will add rounded x large to our button, then text white class, and finally padding top and bottom of 2. Also, I'm going to change the text color here. And here too. To create this divider, we're going to start with a div tag. Add an HR tag, then P tag for the text, and finally another HR tag. Let's display it properly. Add a margin top 10. Grid column 3. Items center. And change the text color to gray. We'll add the same color to the HR border. On our P tag, we're going to add text center class. Now let's create this icon for the password input. First of all, we need to wrap the input element within a div tag. Notice we're having an empty space next to the input. To fix that, add a with full class. Perfect. Back to the div, let's add a relative class. Now we want to add the icon. I'll be using Bootstrap's icons. I'll just copy the SVG code and paste it right here. On our SVG code, add an absolute class. Top 50%. Right 0. And negative translate y of 50%. Looking good, just increase the right position to 3, and now it looks great. Let's also change the SVG fill color. I'm going to change this text size to small. Our next step is creating this Google login button. Add a button tag and write the text for login. Then let's add a white background class. A border. Padding top and bottom of 2. Full width. X large rounded borders. And a margin top of 5. Next, add Google's logo and set the width to 25 pixels. I'll leave the links in the description. Back to our button, let's add a flex class. Justify center. And items center. Perfect. Now we need to give our icon a space to the right, so let's add a class of margin right 3. Let's also make the text small. Awesome, we are almost done. Now let's create the forgot your password link. Create a div tag instead of the p tag I used in the video. Then add the following classes to the div. Margin top 5. Text X small. Border bottom. Padding Y4. And then wrap the text within an anchor tag. For the last line here, create another div tag. Add p tag for the text. And a register button. On this div, let's make the text small. Add a flex class. Justify between. Text X small will look much better. The button should have padding top and bottom of 2. And let's add items center to the div. Button should also have a padding X of 5. White background. A border. And rounded X large class. Add a margin top of 3 to the div tag. Change the border color if needed. We need to fix the media query as it doesn't look that good. Let's change the media query from small to medium. Right here in the Forms div. And here. Much better. Our final task is to add hover effect to the buttons. Here's the first button. On hover, scale 110%. Good, let's add a duration of 300 to make a smooth animation. Nice. I think scale 105 will look better. Copy the classes and add it to Google's login button. We'll do the same to the register button. Because of its small size, the scale is not noticeable. So let's increase the scale to 110. Let's check our page again. I forgot to align the form content. I'm going to add item center class to the container div. Awesome. This is our final result. Hope you guys liked the tutorial. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.